knife crime is on an increase, and I think sitting down here and reflecting upon the number of cases that we are seeing rising in the social media, and recently we've seen loads of cases. So I could say the last, maybe from 2008, 9, there 10, we have seen quite a number of cases, and up till now, and the statistics just keeps going up and up and up, and that is really disappointing. I think we're beginning to see many parents beginning to speak out, and guardians, as a matter of fact. So in that sense, it's a good thing, but it's also a sense of those parents coming out when they're really hurt. It can be anyone's child, and that is something that we need to remember, because it can be any family. It's not just a black thing. I saw English children. I saw children, parents from other communities mourning, as a matter of fact, and we all mourn together. And mourning is not a good thing. Mourning is hurtful, but it reminds us that children are frustrated, and I think we need to get to the root cause of the problem. Bullying, I went to school back home in Kenya, for example, and perhaps the kind of bullying you would say that people would receive back home might be slightly different from here. But even then there was bullying. I think the kind of bullying we're looking at for children over here is children are having peer pressure from their own peers. And in whatever sense you think about it, in any form, for a child to be fearful to cross a certain catchment area, and they say, oh, I can't cross this road because if I cross, I have to fight. I have been told that by children at specific times, and that's worried me. And in fact, when children have said things like that, I've actually gone to certain police stations and requested for more policing, because I feel that we need to do a bit as citizens, whether they follow or not, whether the police will take it serious or not. But I know that I've voiced out personally. If I see a police officer and I think a certain road needs more frequent patrolling, I will tell the police officer, because I feel it's my duty as a person to protect us and everyone, even the children who are fearful. So what I would insist, if children, say for example, are going to school at a particular time, it's not easy, but I feel that more policing, especially in estates or in streets known to be of high issues with this knife crime. So it's important that you have high visibility of policing. That is very important for children, so that the children feel safe to pass in those streets. Personally, I also think that in families, I feel the role model of the male is missing in certain homes. They need to be coming more and speaking to their children, because it's important that we as women remember that the male role model is important, especially for the BME community, because sometimes those children also might want to listen to their fathers more. And I'm sure that no parent, whether they've got broken families or they're divorced or whatever, no parents would like any of their children to behave like an animal. I don't believe in any, I keep hearing people saying bad parenting and stuff like that. I actually think that parents and guardians are very responsible people, because nobody wants to see their child harmed. A knife belongs to the kitchen to cut vegetables and to cut meat, but there's no way you would even think that you can take a knife from your kitchen and put it in the school bag and go with it to school, or go to the £1 shop or £2 shop and go and buy a knife, and then that same child is arrested or goes and tries to kill each other, and before you know it, we've got crisis and we've got death, and we've lost children as young 12 years old, 13 years old, 10, that's painful. That is painful. it doesn't matter which parent, which background, wherever they come from. A child is a child. Children need to be safeguarded regardless of what community they come from. And that is important to understand, that a child is a child. A child, just because that child is from Somalia and the other one is from Nigeria and Sierra Leone, does not mean that these are not kids, or we should not worry about them. We should, even if they're English, we should still worry about those English children, because the question is, why should a child as young as that age carrying a knife? And guardians, and I say guardians because some of them might not even be living with they might be coming from foster care. Some of the kids, we don't know. So some of the kids might have had bad start of life. What do I mean by bad start of life? You hear different stories. Some of these children, they will say, oh, I was brought up in care homes and all these. Go to places, I don't want to mention places, but go to certain places and they will say, oh, I come from care home. You ask them, who's your parent? Care home. Hang on a minute. And the question is, are we guardians even also loving and showing love to those kids? Because if they don't feel loved, I remember this particular case, a grown-up person, I was sitting down just like we're sitting, and this person really touched me. And she said to me, Juliet, during Christmas time, I've got no one. I don't even know who my parents are. And this is somebody that I see every day. And I remember when that person told me, this is a grown-up person, but she felt so isolated as a grown-up. So I sort of held her hand and I said, tell me more about yourself. And I took time to listen. It's always important to listen to other people's stories, because until you actually listen to their stories, then you can understand where the anger and frustration is coming from. We take it for granted so many times that everybody is busy celebrating Christmas, whereas some people in United Kingdom do not have people who me and you might be meeting every single day. It's important to listen to some of the stories. So when she told me her childhood life, she told me about how she'd been from one care home to another care home to another care home to another care home. Are you seeing the picture? And this person, we thank our universe, did not end up in the street or in these fights that we see every single day. But some of the very same kids that we could be talking about probably are crying for help. A few months ago, I was in my road and a friend of mine visited me, and just before he came in, some children had been stopped by the police officer because of nicking a bike just next to where I live. And so my friend decided to intervene. But before he came to my house, he said that he observed the police officers who tried to stop a child. From a child getting to about 10 years old, 12 years old, 13, 14, that child knows you should not take something and bring it at home when it's not yours. The thing is, it's not that the children don't know what they're doing is wrong. The children already know that stealing is bad. The children do know that they've taken the item and that item doesn't belong to them. So when they were asked, the kids started blaming each other. And so the police said, who is your parents? We would like to take you to your parents. And interesting, there was the guardian who was from the Caribbean was watching, and then the English person started saying to the police, I'm seeing you, I'm videoing you, I'm recording you, leave these children, they're in puberty, they're in this. By then the person rang my bell, and so I came down and I was listening to exactly what I'm explaining to you. So we walked to find the police picked up the child, and we drove to the parents' home. Number one, I went to the police officer and I said to the police officer, we are sorry that our children have behaved the way they have behaved. I don't know the children, but I called the children and I said, could you apologize to the police officers and say you're sorry for taking something that does not belong to you. And the children came in, and each of them said, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And the police officer looked at me and said to me, thank you for being who you are. Now, these children, within that space of time, just when the police were there, they were the most beautiful children you could see. The minute the police officers drove off, the children changed like you see the other side of the children. And I sat down there when I went home. I said, yes, I've helped, but truly, these children were not, they were remorseful at that 5-10 minutes that they were asked, which is a good thing because they respected that. But does that tell you something? It tells you that the children we are bringing have got bad manners. In my days when I grew up, a child was not just for the mother and the father. A child belongs to a community. And your school teacher knows you. The community knows that is the child of so-and-so. Now, if you go to certain homes, I've known children who have come from good homes. This one particular child, for example, is the naughtiest amongst all the other kids. And so the parent sits down and says, please take this one away because I can't cope with this one. This one is fighting these ones and whatever. And now the attitude some parents are taking, which is really shocking, some parents are even saying, let the social services take the kids. Now, it is worrying to hear parents, especially of African Caribbean, saying that because we love children, naturally we don't even have a system of believing that the kids should be taken. We have extended families and we believe in uncles and aunties and God knows what, and home family, extended family is nice when it works well. And so family structure needs to be improved. It needs to come back. Do parents sit down to eat together as a home? I remember I went to Amsterdam and I was so interested, and while I was sitting down there, it was a Ghanaian family. They said to me, Juliet, between 5 and 7 we are all at home eating together, especially in Amsterdam. That is very encouraged, and I found that very interesting because I thought, in fact, they warned me. They said, you cannot pick up your phone. It's rude. It's considered to be rude to pick up this phone while they are having their family time. That was one of the things they told me when I went to their home, that you can make any phone calls, but during this time we like to be together. So the question is, how many people are even having family time even on a Sunday, which is a rest day? We need to create love, and when you create love, it is embedded with beauty inside, and children need to be taught the importance of love. What do I mean by love? Parental, love is in different kinds. Community also instills love. If you love this cup, you look after it. It says tweet too, so you look at this bad and you don't want anything happening to your little cup, and you enjoy, you will wash it and you will look after it because you respect the thing. The system does not care. The system is waiting for these kids to be 18, 19, and off they go. Then they're arrested, criminal record. Before you know it, they can't even get jobs, and you reach 40, 50, you're unemployable, and there you are. And we then are trapped, and they get children and they don't have a good start in life, and we blame and blame and blame. So the blame game should stop, in my opinion. We are all responsible for one another, and it's important for us to listen to what is causing some of the problems. So if you look at the recent cases, if you look at those homes, I love researching, and you look at most of these cases. If you look at the Brent Cross, for example, where cases are going very high, you need to start listening. You need to see what cases the social services are taking. You need to look at what police statistics, burglaries happening and whatever. And you need to ask yourself, what is happening in our country? fear in the community, you end up with high crime rates, you end up with dropouts from children going to school, which is what is happening. Every time you will say, oh, high standard rates, these children are not going to school, they have to have homeschooling, because that's related to them not going to school because they've been disciplined and they've been asked to leave the school, so they are not going to education, so they are now getting homeschooling. Now if they are getting homeschooling, you're busy at work, who is going to be doing homeschooling for them at home? Again, truancy. These things relate to each other. Yeah, so what am I saying? I'm saying parents or guardians need to work together. We need to build community centers that parents feel supporting each other and speaking openly. And these kind of things are really worrying when you think that you cannot now even trust your child to go to a family friend. This is why I'm saying it's important for guardians to really have responsible people with children, even in those homes when they are doing party, because how would you feel if your child went to someone's family? You know, I saw that and I cried when I saw that. It was so painful to me. I'm probably safeguarding kids in my own way, but when you think that children are reaching to that extent, 12, 13, 14, 15, we have a serious problem. Personally, to address some of these issues, I've put down, what role can parents play to discourage knife crime? I've said education and listening to the children is something that I feel should be encouraged. Both parents and guardian sitting with their children at dinner time and even lunchtime, meeting ups, and parents also, our guardians getting more involved in school activities, so you know what your children is getting up to. You know how many guardians do, and it's a big question. It would be interesting to check the statistics for that. Parents and guardians getting more involved in schools activities, and the year's report, looking at the year's report of the children's report, if they're doing well, and if they're not doing well, what's happening. I think that would help if more funding can be gotten, so more parents are helping, are knowing that their children are safe in a safe environment, and school teachers getting more involved with children